Like Diane said, we want to thank everyone for coming out today, especially on time with it being a work day. Thank you so much for coming out and supporting the cause. Of course, coming out and supporting E.L.E.V.A.T.E, but that's not why we're here today. We're here today to say Breonna Taylor's name. They believe that a piece of drywall is more important than a black woman's life. Let me reiterate that. They believe a piece of drywall is more important than a black woman's life. That is the value of a black woman's life here in America. And that's what it is. The officer was not charged for her murder. He was charged for shooting the bullets into a different household. That has nothing to do with Breonna Taylor. But you know what? What we're going to do is we're going to say her name. Breonna Taylor! Say her name. Breonna Taylor! And we have to also remember while we're out here that the officers that also murdered Sandra Bland, Tatiana Jefferson, Corinne Gaines, and so many others, those officers are still on the force. They're still on the force to this day. And we also cannot forget about the officers in the Capital District. In the Capital District. They're here and they're still working. E.L.E.V.A.T.E has been acquitted in all charges. I don't know if anyone paid attention to the... Okay, yes, yes. E.L.E.V.A.T.E was acquitted on all charges for the murder, for covering up the murder of E.L.E.V.A.T.E. And that's why we have to make sure that we say these people's names, these black lives that are being aimlessly murdered and slaughtered in the streets. We can't even show a simple animal or anything like that being murdered on the news on CNN, but if it's a black body, that's easily portrayed on CNN and MSNBC. Their murders are being televised all across the nation for our young kids to see, for our peers to see. That's not okay. That ain't right. 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 So I want to make sure that everyone here today look up the other black women and black men who are being murdered, because it's happening every day, every single day. And as a black woman standing up here in front of everyone, I am desensitized. I am desensitized to see my brothers and my sisters and my fathers and my uncles and my aunts being murdered in the street. I cannot take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. I'm tired of it. And I'm scared. I'll admit to you all, I'm scared. I'm scared if I'm gonna be next. I'm scared if my father's gonna be next. I'm scared if my sister will be next. I'm scared if my members will be next. I'm scared for the black women and the black men that are standing in front of us every single day. I'm scared that they will be next. And I'll be damned if I'm going to follow another hashtag, or if I'm going to follow one of my brothers and sisters' horse and carriage, carrying them down to the funeral home, down to the cemetery. I am not going to do it anymore. I will not stand for this anymore. E.L.E.V.A.T.E will not stand for this anymore. Albany will not stand for this anymore. Troy will not stand for this anymore. Schenectady will not stand for this anymore. Saratoga will not stand for this anymore. And we also cannot forget the young man, Sean, in Troy, who was just murdered. 11 years old. 11 years old. These are babies. These are babies. Babies. So one of the goals and missions, if those of you that do not know about E.L.E.V.A.T.E 518, one of our goals and missions are to protect, educate, mentor, tutor our youth. That is what we'll be doing. That is why we're having our census event this Sunday at 2 p.m. in Washington Park. That is why we are putting on that census event, because there's no reason why over 200 staff from Albany High School, Albany City School District, period. There's no reason why they lost their jobs. And our kids can't even have more than one Chromebook in their households. That's right. There's no reason why they cannot have more than one Chromebook in their household. work, to do this work. There's no reason why they need to fight to have education. There's no reason why they need to look and learn in broken down textbooks. There's no reason why there needs to be guidance counselors, teachers, principals, assistant principals, superintendents looking down on them, telling them they won't be anything. There's no reason why. And I'm pretty sure our PLC men and women that are standing out here can resonate when I say this. We are afraid, if we have not already, or if we do already. We are afraid to have children of our own. We are afraid to see our children walk outside of our front door because we don't know if we're gonna see them that same night. We don't know if we're gonna see them 2 hours from then, an hour from then. And if we get a call from a number that we don't recognize, we're afraid. We are afraid. Breonna was shot in her sleep. That means me, our sisters up here, our brothers and our sisters back here. That means with black skin, we are a threat when we're not doing anything. When we're not doing a damn thing. When we're not doing anything, we are a threat. We are a threat. We cannot stand for this anymore. There will be no more Corinne Gaines. There will be no more Tatiana Jefferson. There will be no more Breonna Taylor. There will be no more Ahmaud Arbery. There will be no more. There will be no more. No more. And I see that most of the people in the crowd are allies. We thank you for being here and listening to our stories and standing with us. We thank you. We thank you. Because we know white silence is violence. 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 So make sure that you hold your counterparts accountable. Hold them accountable. Make sure you hold them accountable. Because the very way that you stand up here and speaking and chanting with us, the same way they can be. But it takes time. It takes time. It takes time. So again, I want to thank you all for being up here, sharing this space with us. Any grievances, anything that anyone wants to say, feel free to step up and speak your truth. Feel free. That is what we're here for today. I've been shedding tears almost every single day, scared for my life to know if myself or anyone that I know, anyone that I may not know will be next, buried 6 feet under. Buried 6 feet under for simply having a dark skin tone or simply being a person of color. I'm afraid.
Hello. I just wanted to say when I found out that Breonna Taylor was murdered, you know, something deep inside me like broke. And it took a couple nights sleeping to finally understand what it was. I had, you know, mostly forgot about this memory because it was very traumatizing, but I used to live, I used to spend the night with my father, and he lived in the apartment buildings on Morton Ave next to the bodega. And it's hard to say, but because it's like it sucks to remember, but I remember I was in a position of Breonna Taylor in his apartment building. There was a man on the 3rd floor who was selling drugs. That night the police came in, kicked down my father's door, raiding it, thinking that that was the apartment where it was selling drugs. And I remember waking up terrified and frightened as a child because there's all these people in the house and lights and yelling, and I didn't know what was going on. And just thinking about that, knowing I was only 6 or 7, I could have been dead just because they had the wrong information. They kicked down the door, realized it wasn't a house because the lights was off and we was all sleeping, and then said, okay, sorry, and then went upstairs. That's not okay. You can't be a police officer and not do your due diligence to understand where you need to go. So when I found out she died, I couldn't sleep. I was crying because that memory that I kept locked away as a child was brought back up because I was in that same situation. But just knowing that she's not getting justice because they're lying, saying that house was the drug house and that they did extensive research to know that her ex-boyfriend was still living there. And they didn't even know that was her ex-boyfriend. They were saying, oh, the box he picked up may have drugs in it. But that's the only time they seen him at her house. That box was probably just shoes or clothes. And they used that to justify doing a no-knock warrant to kick down her door. That's not okay. And to say that it was justified for them to shoot because her boyfriend was defending his home, protecting his black woman as he should be. He's scared, they're all scared. And they want to talk, I hate to say it, but America talks so much about having a Second Amendment right, but it doesn't apply to black people or people of color. It does not. He has the right to defend his home, to protect his life, to protect his black woman's life, and they use that against him to try to say that's the reason why they shot. It's ridiculous. And then now, just seeing all this spiteful rhetoric about this woman who was a hard worker, who came home after a long 12-hour shift during a pandemic as an EMT worker, lose her life over some bullshit. Over bullshit. They didn't even do research to know that she wasn't the only one living in that house, because I hate to say it, her sister was lucky that she was out the house that time. It's ridiculous. But you see these talking points where they're criminalizing her boyfriend, but then those same people are saying that that boy Kyle, who crossed state lines with an illegal firearm, killing 2 people, that he was in his right to defend himself.
Talk about it.
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that us as black people, we literally do nothing and we still get murdered. No one deserves to be murdered. That's not a cop's job. They are not judge, jury, and executioner. They want to say, oh, you know, we're here to protect and serve, but they're not doing their jobs right. That's why we're mad at them. We do need cops because that's how we keep law, but you're not doing your job right. Don't be an executioner and then say, yes, I'm doing my job. Your job is not an executioner. That's why we have courts. That's why we have, all these laws, even though they don't always work, but that's the reason why we have them, because you're just supposed to apprehend somebody and then take them in, not kill them. Even if the person is doing wrong or right, they do not deserve to be murdered. All these talking points where, oh, Breonna was a drug dealer, okay, and she still don't deserve to be murdered. Even though she wasn't, she don't deserve to be murdered.
history. Because you cannot deny that this whole entire country has been built upon what black people do not have in order so that white people could have more. And I want to talk about Henry Johnson. We all know Henry Johnson, right? The street named after him? Yeah. Do we know what he did? Do we know what he's known for? A lot of people don't. Henry Johnson was a World War I veteran, and he fought for the Americans in World War I, and he defended American generals and soldiers, and he saved dozens of people's lives. He killed the enemies in hand-to-hand combat, and when he came back to America, the government didn't do anything for him. He died alone, he died in poverty, and it wasn't until over 50 years after he died that the government finally awarded him a Purple Heart. And that statue of him in Washington Park, that was put up in 2015, over 100 years after World War I. This is just one of the examples of times that America and Americans have taken advantage of black communities and black heroes and everything that is not ours, everything that we've taken and tried to pass off is what we did, and it's unfair, but it's what this country's built on. There's so many more examples of that. The 13th Amendment, we know the 13th Amendment, right? Abolish slavery. What was America's response to that? What did we do? We started sharecropping. We started convict leasing. We made up laws that targeted the black community to put them in jail so we could legally make them slaves again. Okay? There's always some workaround. This is in the system of our country. They're always finding ways to legally take it, just do everything that they do. There's never fairness, there's never equality because they're making the rules. 14th Amendment, okay? Same era, the Reconstruction era after the Civil War. 14th Amendment granted all people born in the U.S. or naturalized in the U.S. full citizen rights, all right? This should have given everybody equal citizenship rights. What did we do? We passed Jim Crow laws. We made segregation legal. We said, oh, that's not our business. They're separate, but they're equal, right? 14th Amendment, it's legal under the amendment. They're always finding ways to justify what they do. 15th Amendment made it legal for black men to vote, all right? What did we do? What did America do? We put a poll tax on voting. We said you have to pay to vote, knowing damn well that black men probably couldn't pay to vote because no one was giving them jobs. They said you have to be a resident for over a year to be able to vote, knowing damn well that they're being chased out of their neighborhoods by the Ku Klux Klan. This never ends. This has been ingrained in the entire fabric of our country, and to say that that's not true is just ignoring history. A lot of people don't know this stuff because our education system doesn't want to talk about this stuff. They don't want to own up to all of the horrors that we've done because people are benefiting off of it to this day. We've all benefited from it. I've benefited from it. I got smaller eyes than other people. I face discrimination, but you see my skin? My skin has kept me safe. I don't have to deal with the fear. I don't have to deal with the fear of leaving my house every day. I don't have to be afraid of saying the wrong thing or looking at people the wrong way because my skin keeps me safe. Because I live in a country that writes laws to keep people like me safe. I don't know when it's gonna stop. I'm feeling hopeless all the time, you know? I'm like, what more can I do? What more can any of us do? Because as long as there's people in power who have more money than us, who have more platforms than us, they're gonna keep us subordinate. They've done this for years. They've done this. This whole entire country is built on racism. Everything about this country is built on racism, okay? You can't deny it. You can try to own up to it. That's a starting point. You know? Say, I acknowledge this is true. What can I do to help? How can I help those communities that have lost because my community has gained? What can I sacrifice? So I want you all to go home today and think about that. Think about what you can sacrifice. Because everything you have is because of everything that Black people did not have for hundreds of years. Thank you. Thank you.
To kind of piggyback on what she was saying, Black Lives Matter is painted across Lark Street. And I'm sure everybody here has seen it or when it happened. But that's not something that I'm okay with settling for. Are you okay with settling for that? No. Are you okay with settling for a painted road? No. That's not in the street that we live on. We don't really have any kind of association with Lark Street besides the one Black-owned business on Lark Street. Two.
Black Lives Matter on 3rd Ave too.
Black Lives Matter on 3rd Ave. Black Lives Matter on 3rd Street. Black Lives Matter on Henry Johnson. Black Lives Matter on the Hill. Black Lives Matter on the South End. Black Lives Matter on the West End. Black Lives Matter in Albany, period. Period. Albany, Joyce, Schenectady, Saratoga. The last protest that I've been to was for Daniel Prude, and we had it here in Albany. And one of the chants that really stuck with me, because it's true, when you walk through Lark Street, where you're walking through over there on College Town, and one of the chants was, fire, fire, gentrifier, Black people used to live here. Fire, fire, gentrifier, Black people used to live here. Fire, fire, gentrifier, Black people used to live here. Fire, fire, gentrifier, Black people used to live here. Okay, thank y'all so much. Is there anyone else that has something to say? Come speak up, speak your truth, any grievances, anything. This is a speak out for Breonna Taylor. Not only for Breonna Taylor, but for our own grievances as well. Our own grievances as well. We're hurting. We're suffering. I'm 23 years old and there's no reason why I should be worried about if my father or my mother, God forbid, anybody that I know, my brother, my sister, if I should not be worried about that at 23 years old every single day. If I will see my family or anybody that I know or another Black or brown body dead in the street, I should not be worried about that at 23 years old. I should not. I shouldn't even worry about my own life being taken by somebody that's supposed to protect and serve. There's no reason why I should be living in fear. There's no reason why I should look face to face with these abusers. I am traumatized. I'm a 23-year-old Black woman that is traumatized. And it's generational. It's generational. But we are here to stop that today. We will not pass that generational trauma. We will not pass on that generational trauma. We will educate our youth, our younger siblings, our younger family members, our children, parents. I can only imagine the type of suffering that you go through. The conversations that I have with my parents, I can only imagine. It brings tears to their eyes and I barely even see my parents cry. So I can only imagine what these parents are going through. Pray for them. Pray for them. Pray for these Black and brown bodies.
COVID protocol. Baby safe.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi everyone. Thank you so much to the speakers and to Elevate 518. Everyone who's spoken has been so powerful and so moving. Thank you so much for what you just said. This is not my first protest. It won't be my last. This is my daughter's first protest. Her name is Clementine. She's 4.5 months old. And she's asleep. And with all of the megaphones and the clapping and the chanting, she's asleep because she is safe with this community right here. Maybe. But she is safe, and I, as a white mother for a white baby, cannot wrap my head around what it must feel like to be the mother of Breonna Taylor today, or the mother of Tamir Rice, or the countless Black mothers who have lost children. It's, you know, what they say that when you become a parent, you know everything changes, and everybody hears that, but like when it does, it really does change your whole fucking perspective on everything. And one thing that I did want to mention is, I don't know who here has had the pleasure of being on a grand jury. Who's ever sat on a grand jury before? Alright. So, I didn't know what a grand jury was really about. I got picked. I was like, alright, I'm going to show up. And for, I think, 9 weeks, I was downtown Albany sitting on a grand jury. And when you sit on a grand jury, you only hear evidence that supports the idea that there is a case that should go to trial.
Hey, can you please repeat that? I'm sorry.
When you sit on a grand jury, you only hear evidence in support of a case going to trial. So you don't hear from the defendant, you don't hear anybody saying, well, we don't have that evidence or we have counter evidence. All you hear is the evidence that supports that this case needs to be investigated further. So if you ever sit on a grand jury, you will know that your peers will say, indict, 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 because all you hear is that there is some suspicion and that there is some evidence supporting that this case needs to go further. So the fact that all of these cases come back with no indictment is, I mean, it should be sounding off so many fucking alarms. We should understand that this system is broken. So you know what, everybody, sign up for the census, register to vote. But that's not solving our problems. The problems are structural. They're there on purpose. So go talk to that table over there of nice socialists. Go get together with E.L.E.V.A.T.E 518. Stay in touch. More of this is what's going to change. Voting is great, but where are we? Where are we? Voting and voting and voting. We need people power. Thank you. So I just want to pick it off what she said. It is very important that we do vote, and that we are there filling out the census, and that I know a lot of people who say, oh, I got jury duty, I'ma skip it. It's not, you gotta go. These things, our civic duties are very important that we need to attend. Yes, voting doesn't fix all our problems, but we need to be there in these polls. Not only presidentially, but locally. We have to show up to the city boards. We have to show up for the public school boards. The public school board had a meeting, and it was only 800 people watching the live. There are only 800 parents in Albany. This is why we are losing out, and especially in the black community, this is why we are losing out on important things, because we are not attending the things that we need to attend. White people go to these things because they know they are important. They suppress our vote because they know it is important. There are so many laws to suppress the vote. It matters for black people and POC. It matters. The Hispanic vote matters. The Asian vote matters. It all matters. Because since they are the majority, they're going to always win. But we have to show up there to say, at least in our communities where we are the majority, that our voices matter.